You finally get the thing you have been chasing. The promotion. The recognition. The seat at the table everyone else wanted. And for about 48 hours, you feel it. The satisfaction. The relief. The quiet thrill of having arrived. Then Monday comes again. And you notice something you did not expect. You are not calmer. You are not freer. You are more anxious than you were before you had it. You are checking your phone more, not less. You are more careful with your words, not less. You are thinking about who is watching, who is talking, who might be coming for what you just earned. The thing you wanted so badly is now the thing you cannot stop thinking about losing. And here is the costly mistake most people make. They believe power is something you acquire. They spend years climbing, strategizing, building, sharpening themselves into instruments of ambition. And they never once ask the question that actually matters. What happens to you after you get it? Because the truth nobody wants to say out loud is that power does not corrupt you. It reveals you. It strips away every constraint that was holding your worst impulses in check and hands you the resources to act on them. The real test of power is not acquiring it. The real test is holding it so loosely that your hands stay empty. That is the thesis. Power is not something you possess. It is something you hold. And the difference between a person who is powerful and a person who is owned by power is whether they can set it down at any moment and still know exactly who they are. Think about what happens to most people when they get a taste of influence. I am not talking about kings and emperors. I am talking about the manager who just got authority over 6 people and suddenly cannot stop micromanaging. The friend who got a little bit of money and now treats every dinner like a negotiation. The person who finally got the attention they craved and now spends 3 hours a day maintaining the image that earned it. They did not change. The power just removed the friction that was hiding who they already were. The insecurity was always there. The need for control was always there. The hunger for validation was always there. Power just gave those things room to breathe. Seneca understood this 2,000 years ago. He lived it. He was one of the wealthiest men in Rome, an advisor to Emperor Nero, a man who had access to power that most people in the modern world cannot even imagine. And he spent years watching that power destroy the people around him. He watched Nero descend from a promising young ruler into a paranoid tyrant who killed his own mother, his own wife, his own tutors. Seneca saw something most people refuse to see. Wealth and power are not tools that serve you. They are masters that enslave you. The moment you need them to feel whole, they own you. Seneca would say that the man who needs wealth is poorer than the man who has nothing. Because the man with nothing is free. The man who needs wealth is a prisoner whose cell happens to be comfortable. This is the paradox that most ambitious people never confront. You pursue power because you think it will make you free. But the pursuit itself builds a cage around you. Every rung you climb adds another thing you are afraid to lose. Every new connection adds another person whose opinion you must manage. Every increment of status adds another reason you cannot simply walk away. You are not climbing toward freedom. You are building a prison one brick at a time and calling it a tower. Here is what nobody tells you about power. It is a social game, and you cannot opt out of it. Even refusing to play is a move. Even stepping back is a signal that others will interpret, exploit, or punish. There is no neutral position. You are always on the board. The only real choice is whether you play skillfully or poorly. And most people play poorly because they bring their emotions to the table. They get angry when they feel disrespected. They get attached to people who flatter them. They get afraid when they sense threat. And every one of those emotions makes them predictable. Predictable people are controllable people. Controllable people are not powerful. They just look powerful while someone else pulls the strings. Power itself is neither good nor evil. It is a force of nature, like fire or water. It can warm a house or burn it down. It can sustain life or drown it. And the people who are most dangerous with power are not the cruel ones. They are the ones who think they are immune to it. The ones who say, "I would never let it change me." Those are the people who change the most, because they never develop the one thing that would protect them. Detachment. Now hear me clearly. Detachment does not mean you do not care. It does not mean you become cold, distant, robotic. Detachment means you hold everything with an open hand. It means you engage fully, act decisively, commit completely, and remain internally free to walk away at any moment. You love the work without needing the title. You pursue the goal without needing the outcome. You build the reputation without becoming the reputation. That is detachment. And it is the single most difficult practice for anyone who has ever tasted power. Because power is addictive in a way that no substance can match. It does not just feel good. It feels like survival. Your nervous system cannot easily tell the difference between social status and physical safety. When you gain influence, your brain registers it as threat reduction. When you lose it, your brain registers it as threat. This is why people who lose power do not just feel disappointed. They feel like they are dying. Their body enters a stress response. Their sleep fragments. Their digestion suffers. Their mood collapses. They are not grieving a job or a title. They are grieving an identity. And this is where the cost becomes personal for you. Because if you have been pursuing power, influence, respect, authority, and you have been doing it without building the internal architecture to hold it, you are not climbing. You are falling slowly. You are trading your peace for a position. You are trading your authenticity for a reputation. You are trading your freedom for a net worth. And one day you will sit in the office or the house or the life you earned, and you will feel a hollow ache that no amount of status can fill. You will still not feel whole. You will still not feel like you. Now let me tell you about Marcus Aurelius. Here is a man who held more power than anyone you will ever meet. He was the Emperor of Rome. He commanded the entire Roman military. He controlled the legal system, the economy, the infrastructure of the known Western world. He had the authority to end a life with a word, to redirect the course of nations with a decision, to reshape the map of civilization with a decree. And every single morning, before he did anything else, he sat down and reminded himself that none of it mattered. He reminded himself that the people he governed would forget him. That the empire he managed would eventually fall. That the power he held was on loan from forces he did not control. He did not do this because he was depressed. He did it because he was disciplined. He understood something that almost no one in a position of power understands. If you do not actively practice detachment from your power will practice attachment on you. It will creep in. It will weave itself into your identity so slowly that you will not notice it happening. One day you are a person who happens to have authority. The next day you are authority. You are the title. You are the reputation. You are the income. And the moment you become those things, you are finished. Because those things can be taken. And when they are taken, there will be nothing left. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man in the world, and he practiced being nobody every single day. That is not weakness. That is the highest form of strength. Think about what that actually looks like in practice. You wake up. You have responsibilities. You have people depending on you. You have decisions to make that will affect lives. And before any of that, you sit quietly and you say to yourself, none of this is mine. This role is not mine. This title is not mine. This reputation is not mine. These resources are not mine. They have been entrusted to me temporarily, and they will be returned. You say this not to escape responsibility. You say it so that you can carry the responsibility without being crushed by it. You say it so that when the day comes and the role changes, when the title is removed, when the resources shift, you do not collapse. You transition. Because you were never the role. You were the person who held the role. And that person is still here. Most people cannot do this. Most people fuse with their power so completely that they cannot distinguish between the position and the self. And this is why most powerful people are secretly terrified. They are afraid because they know, on some level, that if the power were removed, they would not know who they are. They have no self outside the structure. No identity apart from the hierarchy. No voice that is not amplified by the title. And so they cling. They grip tighter. They become more controlling, more paranoid, more reactive. Not because they are powerful, but because they are powerless in the one way that actually matters. They have no power over themselves. And that is the only power that cannot be taken from you. Let me say that again because it is the axis on which everything turns. The only power that cannot be taken from you is power over yourself. Your impulses. Your reactions. Your attachments. Your fears. Everything else is borrowed. Everything else is temporary. Everything else can be revoked by circumstance, by other people, by the slow erosion of time. When you understand this, it changes how you move through the world. You stop chasing influence for its own sake. You stop needing to be the most impressive person in the room. You stop building your life around a reputation that one rumor could destroy. You start asking a different question. Not how do I get more power? But how do I become the kind of person who can hold power without being held by it? And the answer is practice. Daily, deliberate, unglamorous practice. You practice saying less. Most people think power is about what you say. Power is about what you do not say. Every word you speak is information someone else can use. Every opinion you share is a position someone can attack. Every explanation you offer is a vulnerability you have handed away. The person who speaks less is the person who controls the frame. They are harder to read, harder to predict, harder to manipulate. And when they do speak, people listen, because their words have scarcity value. You practice emotional detachment from outcomes. This does not mean you do not try. You try with everything you have. You commit fully. You execute with precision. But when the result arrives, whether it is success or failure, you do not fuse with it. You do not let a win inflate your identity. You do not let a loss collapse it. You watch the outcome arrive, you take note of it, you adjust, and you move forward. The outcome was never yours. The effort was yours. The integrity was yours. Those are the only things you keep. You practice maintaining your reputation without becoming dependent on it. Your reputation is a tool. It opens doors. It creates trust. It grants you access and leverage. And it can be destroyed in an afternoon by one lie, one scandal, one misunderstanding. Protect it, yes. Invest in it, absolutely. But never make it the foundation of your self-worth. Because if your reputation is the foundation, you are always one earthquake away from rubble. Your foundation has to be internal. It has to be the quiet, unshakable knowledge that you are who you are regardless of what anyone else believes about you. You practice having a plan for the endgame. Most people fail at power not because they cannot acquire it but because they have no plan for what comes after. They climb the mountain and then stand at the summit, with no idea what to do next. They have no exit strategy. They have no vision for life beyond the current position. And so they cling to the summit long after it has stopped serving them. They turn a temporary position into a permanent identity. You must always know what comes next. Not in a paranoid way, not in a way that prevents you from being present, but in a way that keeps you oriented toward the horizon rather than the ground beneath your feet. Because the ground can shift at any time. You practice keeping your enemies closer than your friends. This is not cynicism. This is realism. Friends can betray you because proximity breeds expectation and unspoken resentment. People who have opposed you and then come to your side have something to prove. They work harder. They are more loyal because their loyalty is a choice, not a default. This does not mean you trust no one. It means you trust patterns, not feelings. You trust demonstrated behavior over time, not the warmth of a relationship that has never been tested under pressure. You practice making others come to you. When you chase, you reveal need. When you chase, you hand the other person the frame. When you sit still and let them come, you control the terrain. You set the terms. This applies to negotiations, to relationships, to opportunities. The person who is willing to walk away is always the person with the most leverage. And the only way to be genuinely willing to walk away is to not need the outcome. Which brings us back to the core. If you need the power has you. If you need the respect has you. If you need the wealth has you. The Stoic position is not that you should avoid these things. It is that you should hold them the way you hold water in an open palm. Present. Available. Useful. But not gripped. Not clenched. Not fused to your skin. Here is what I want you to understand about yourself and the ambition you carry. Your ambition is not the problem. Your attachment to the objects of your ambition is the problem. You can want success. You can pursue influence. You can build wealth and authority and a reputation that opens doors. All of that is fine. More than fine. It is good. The world needs people who are capable and driven and effective. But you must build the internal structure first. You must develop the capacity to hold these things without them becoming you. Because if you do not, the very things you earn will become the things that eat you. And you will not notice it happening until the day they are taken and you look in the mirror and do not recognize the person staring back. You have seen this happen to people. Maybe someone close to you. They got the promotion and within months they were a different person. They got the money and suddenly every relationship had a transactional edge. They got the attention and could no longer tolerate being unseen. They did not become someone new. They became who they always were underneath, but now they had the resources to express it without restraint. That will happen to you too unless you build the muscle of detachment now. Before the power arrives. Before the wealth arrives. Before the influence arrives. Because once it arrives, the ego will defend its position with everything it has. It will tell you that you deserve it. That you earned it. That it is yours. That anyone who questions it is a threat. And you will believe it. Because it feels like truth. It feels like justice. It feels like the natural order of things. But it is just attachment wearing the mask of confidence. The Stoics did not teach passivity. This is one of the most common misunderstandings. People hear detachment and they picture someone sitting on a mountaintop, indifferent to the world, doing nothing. That is not what the Stoics taught. The Stoics taught engagement without enslavement. Action without attachment. Full participation in the world without making the world the source of your identity. Marcus Aurelius did not abdicate. He did not retreat to a villa and meditate. He went to war. He governed. He made decisions that affected millions. He did his job with absolute commitment. And he held it all with an open hand. That is the model. Not withdrawal. Not avoidance. Full engagement with an open hand. Now I want you to think about your own life. Think about the thing you are chasing right now. The promotion. The relationship. The recognition. The financial milestone. The social position. Whatever it is. And ask yourself a question that almost no one asks honestly. If I got it tomorrow, who would I become? Not who would I be. Who would I become? Would I become more anxious or less? More generous or less? More present or less? More free or less? If the honest answer is that getting it would make you less free, then you are not ready for it. Not because you are unworthy. Because you have not yet built the container that can hold it without leaking. And the container is detachment. The container is the daily practice of reminding yourself that you are not what you have. You are not what you earn. You are not what people say about you. You are not the title on your door or the number in your account or the size of your following. You are the quality of your character. You are the steadiness of your mind under pressure. You are the choices you make when no one is watching and the grace you show when things go wrong. Everything else is scenery. Everything else is set dressing. And scenery can be changed at any time by forces you do not control. Let me give you something concrete. Starting tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, before you read the news, before you look at your calendar and feel the weight of the day pressing down on you, sit still for 3 minutes. Just 3 minutes. And remind yourself of 3 things. First, everything I have today is on loan. My position, my resources, my reputation, my relationships. They are entrusted to me, not owned by me. They can be returned at any time. Second, the only things that are truly mine are my choices, my integrity, and my response to whatever happens today. Everything else is outside my control. Third, I will engage fully today. I will do my work. I will show up for my people. I will pursue my goals with everything I have. And I will hold the results with an open hand. 3 minutes. Every morning. This is not a ritual. This is a practice. The difference is that rituals are performances and practices are training. You are training your mind to not fuse with the things it touches. You are training your nervous system to not treat status as survival. You are training your identity to stay rooted in character rather than circumstance. And over time, something shifts. You start to notice that you can walk into a room full of powerful people and not feel small. Not because you have matched their power, but because you do not need to. You start to notice that you can receive criticism without being devastated and praise without being inflated. Because neither one has the power to define you. You start to notice that you can make decisions based on principle rather than fear. Because your fear is no longer tied to losing something you believe you need. You start to notice something else too. People begin to trust you differently. They sense that you are not driven by need. They sense that your word is not a tool of manipulation but a reflection of your character. They sense that you can be given power and not abuse it because you are not desperate to keep it. And this, paradoxically, makes you more influential than any strategy or tactic ever could. Because the person who does not need power is the person everyone wants to give it to. The person who is not attached to the outcome is the person whose judgment everyone trusts. The person who can walk away is the person no one wants to lose. This is the deepest secret of power. The way to hold it is to not need it. The way to keep it is to be willing to let it go. The way to grow it is to refuse to make it the center of who you are. Now I want you to sit with something uncomfortable. Think about the people you know who have power. The ones who seem to carry it well and the ones who are clearly being carried by it. What is the difference? It is not intelligence. Some of the most intelligent people are the most enslaved by their own ambition. It is not talent. Some of the most talented people are the most fragile. The difference is always the same thing. The people who carry power well have a self that exists independent of the power. They have relationships that are not transactional. They have interests that are not strategic. They have a private life that is not a performance. They have an inner world that the power cannot touch. And the people who are being carried by power, they have none of that. Their entire identity is the position. Their every relationship is filtered through the lens of utility. Their every interest is a networking opportunity. Their private life is an extension of their public brand. They are not people who have power. They are people who power has. Which one are you becoming? This is not a question to answer defensively. It is a question to sit with honestly. Because the trajectory is set long before the power arrives. If you are already fusing your identity with your accomplishments, with your position, with your reputation, then getting more of those things will only deepen the fusion. You will not suddenly become detached when you get the promotion. You will become more attached. The stakes will be higher. The fear of loss will be greater. The grip will tighten. Detachment is a muscle that must be built before you need it. Not after. And here is the thing about building that muscle. It will cost you something. It will cost you the intoxicating feeling of being needed. It will cost you the adrenaline of being chased. It will cost you the identity of being the person who is always in demand, always in control, always at the center. But what it gives you in return is something that no amount of external power can provide. It gives you the ability to be at peace regardless of your circumstances. It gives you the freedom to act from principle rather than fear. It gives you the capacity to love people without needing them to validate you. It gives you a self that is unshakable. And that is the only kind of power worth having. The kind that cannot be taken. The kind that does not depend on anyone else's opinion. The kind that does not evaporate when the market crashes or the relationship ends or the position is eliminated. The kind that you carry with you into every room, every conversation, every decision. Not as a weapon. As a foundation. So here is where we arrive. You want power. You want influence. You want respect and authority and the ability to shape the world around you. And you should want those things. There is nothing wrong with ambition. There is nothing noble about shrinking yourself to avoid the challenges of influence. But you must understand that the power you seek will test you in ways you cannot predict. It will tempt you to compromise. It will seduce you into identifying with it. It will whisper that you earned it, that you deserve it, that it is yours. And if you listen to that whisper, you will lose the only thing that matters: yourself. The Stoic path is not the path of withdrawal. It is the path of mastery. Mastery of self. Mastery of impulse. Mastery of the tendency to fuse with the things you touch. You hold power the way Marcus Aurelius held the Roman Empire. With full engagement and an open hand. You serve. You lead. You build. You fight. And every morning, you remind yourself that none of it is yours. You remind yourself that you are the person, not the position. You are the character, not the reputation. You are the choice, not the outcome. This is how you have power without it having you. You hold it loosely. You use it well. And you stay ready to set it down at any moment, knowing that who you are without it is enough. Stay grounded. Choose mastery over comfort. And remember, the most powerful person in any room is the one who does not need to be there.